the art of thinking beyond the obvious. And today I have my special guest. She is auditory mentor and, of course, an author too, the author of My Voice Beyond Hearing Loss, none other than Miss Maureen Covinsky. Welcome, Miss Maureen. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I missed?
What was that? Sorry.
Yes, can you please introduce more about yourself?
Sorry.
No worries.
My name's Maureen. As you said, auditory mentor and author of My Voice Beyond Hearing Loss: How I Discovered Confidence, Freedom, and Inner Peace. I grew up in suburban Chicago and now have been living for 20 plus years in Phoenix, Arizona area. And really looking forward to talking to you again today.
Yes, Miss Maureen Covinsky. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. And today, let's talk about your writing process of My Voice Beyond Hearing Loss. What inspired you to write My Voice Beyond Hearing Loss in the first place?
Well, actually, I in 2023 I joined a business mastermind, and because I knew there was something more that I needed to do in this life besides what I was doing, that I could contribute more to people than just, I shouldn't say just being a pharmacy technician, but because that's also an important job. But so I joined a mastermind and didn't quite know what I wanted to do. I knew there was more out there. So my business mentor said, "Why don't you write your hearing loss story?" And I'm like, "Well, no, I'm not a writer." That was the first thing I said was, "I'm not a writer. I don't think I can do that." But then the next morning, um, I started writing. So the initial writing was about 6 pages, which is more than I've ever written before. But what's funny about that story is that I worked from home at that time, and all of a sudden, I'm an early riser, so I was awake, so I started writing, and all of a sudden, I looked at my clock, and it was like 5 to 7, and I started work at 7. So I was almost late to work, even though I just have to take like 3 steps into this room here to start my job. But it was just kind of funny that the day before I was like, no, I'm not a writer. But the next day I was like, I started writing. Um, After I did those 6 pages, my business mentor and I went over like about 10 different questions that I should, fill out, I should think about and write. And those 10 questions ended up being, chapters in the book eventually. So that was very interesting process and how I started. Um, so I started with because there was a suggestion made. so um,
So, Miss Maureen, did you always intended to turn your personal journey into a book, or did the idea emerge over time?
well, I think it started out as it really started out as telling my personal journey, and I think that's the only way that um, people can understand, what I was going through and what they can people can, by hearing my story, people can, hear their own journey in that story. Everybody has their different journey, but there's always some similarities in that journey, especially when you're post-lingually deafened. So that was after you acquire speech. Um, it makes it really hard. When you start losing it, you don't realize it, and then life becomes hard because this is a hearing world. It's not a
A hearing world for sure. So, how did you find the courage to share such a personal and vulnerable story in the world?
um well, it's all about finding my voice beyond hearing loss. I couldn't name my book that and not tell my personal story and not have the courage to put it out there. Um, I think there was a about 6 to 9 months where I stopped writing for a while. I ended up writing a workbook for my business, for clients of mine who want to go through the emotional aspects. So I stopped for a while, um, mainly because I was wondering how people would um, react to some of the stories I had about my mother, specifically my mother, because my mother's no longer here. I love her dearly, miss her every day. But people that don't know me may misconstrue some of the stories that I said, talked about. And then I got to the point in that 6 9 months where I had this revelation about how it was for her to lose her hearing. Uh, she was, a young mother, and I'm going to date myself. So I was born in '66. My brothers are older than me. Um, so in the 70s, early '80s, there wasn't that much support for people with hearing loss. Um, so I just imagined what it was like for her, you know, being a mother, working full time, raising three children, and not always being able to hear us if we were in a different room. So I think that realization really, really helped me, um, with getting back to writing, and stating that this was her journey, and my journey were separate but different. And that revelation really helped me, realizing that she must have been had the same feelings I did.
What was the first step you took once you decided to begin writing this book?
What was the first what?
The first step you took once you decided to begin writing this My Voice Beyond Hearing Loss.
The first block. I mean, just realizing, reading what I wrote, or having someone reading, going, this is pretty good. You need to get this out there. So realizing that I can be an effective writer, was very important, very early in the writing of this book.
Miss Maureen, what did your daily or weekly writing routine look like?
I laugh because I'm not sure if I had a weekly writing, I routine. I wrote in spurts. I wrote on my phone. Um, I would be driving in my car and be like, "Oh, I need to put that in there." And once I got to wherever I was going, I would go to where, write a note, um, and write that way. I mean, it would be simple things, having something happen where maybe I didn't hear something, or um, something would remind me of a story about, something that happened with my mother, during her journey, or something, would remind me of something. I don't know how to say this. There would be points where something would remind me of a story in my childhood or in my hearing loss journey that I would have to write down. So I don't know if I was really consistent writing, until I was almost done. And then I'm like, when I was almost done, I'm like, I need to finish this. So from when I started writing again in January of this year, and I pretty much finished it by the end of March at that point. So
Miss Maureen, did you ever experience writer's block and how did you overcome it?
yeah, well, I mean, during when I stopped writing, that was definitely a huge block, and having that time off and doing something else and coming back to it was really, really helpful to me. Um, and if I had little moments in between, when I was writing, little moments, I call them little moments, I would reach out to one of my friends and some of my tribe and say, "This is what I've written. What do you think of it? Where do you think I need to what do you think is missing? What would you like to hear more of? Getting other people's opinions um, of what I was have written and how I can make it better was very important.
Very important indeed. So, Miss Maureen, let's talk about the craft and style. How did you decide on the tone, balancing personal storytelling with inspiration for readers?
Um, well, I think you have to when you're writing something, especially when you're trying to teach people or show people how things can be or how they can you can make it better. Um, you have to tell your story, and then you have to back that up with, well, how did I get to this? How did I get to confidence, freedom, and inner peace? And what revelations did I have while writing, and even before I was started writing? How those experiences shaped my belief system.
Hmm. Yes, indeed. And what strategies did you use to make the book relatable for people who may not just share your exact experiences?
Um, I think, as I said, I think everybody's journey is different. And then there's always similarities. Get a lot of feedback where they're like, "Oh, you've had I've had some of the same experiences as you," and the journey might be slightly different, but some of the things that happen are not. Some of the revelations are not. So I think that makes it relatable to other people especially people with hearing loss. I think that me telling my story helps others.
Definitely help others, people. So, Miss Maureen, as an author, what are your short-term and long-term goals?
Can you say that again? Sorry.
What are your short-term and long-term goals?
Short-term goals is finishing this interview. No, just kidding. Um, and long-term goals is getting this book out to people. Right now, it's on Amazon. .com, or you can also find it on my landing page. There's a link to my book on there. So getting that out there, um, getting more clients that I can help through the emotional aspects of hearing loss, and sharing my wisdom with them. I think those are the most important things that I have going on right now.
Good luck to your goals, Miss Maureen, and looking forward for more success. And how did feedback from editors, mentors, or early readers influence the final manuscript?
I had my business mentor. We met for the final manuscript. We went through and made sure and cleaned it up. She wrote my foreword for me. Um, so that was with her, and then with my tribe, just always they were always encouraging to me, in saying, "Go for it, you can do this, you got this covered," and just having that feedback from them and that support from them meant the world to me as I was writing this.
Miss Maureen, were there any parts of the story you originally hesitated to include but later felt were essential?
Um, I think I pretty much kept everything in. I don't think there was ever a time where I didn't take anything out. Um, I think there was times where people in my people in my my group would say, my tribe would say, you need to expand on this thought, or what do you know, we need to see a little more. So I don't think that, I think pretty much everything that I wrote stayed in. I don't believe I took anything out. Um, I might have expanded it more or made it more readable, or um, tried to put a little more background into what was going on. Um, but everything pretty much stayed.
All in there for sure. Do you need to remove any passage you love but it did not fit the overall flow of the book?
So I didn't understand the question, so sorry.
Do you need to remove any passages you love but that did not fit the overall flow of the book?
Um, I don't think I removed anything. I might have um, moved chapters around to make it flow a little better. Yeah, I don't remember really taking anything out. Chapters might have moved around a little bit. I might have taken um, thought that a story would work better in a different under a different chapter. But other than that, as I said, everything pretty much stayed in. I kind of felt that in order for me to influence people and help people, I had to tell my full story. That there couldn't be any shortcuts. So um, everything pretty much stayed in.
Miss Maureen, were there moments when the process felt more like therapy than writing?
Yeah, yeah, I kind of made. I kind of. I don't know if it was therapy, but just as I was writing, I got in touch more with the feelings I had at the time. I think when you're going through hearing when you have a parent, or you're a child of a parent who suffers from hearing loss over a long period of time. um, I think you kind of get lost in that. You get lost in the doing and not the being. So I think writing this my story this story my story, um, I was able to put some of my feelings into the stories, which I never really had before. So, like, when I was talking about in the book, I was talking about my mom and coming out of a football game, and the Cubs. We're from Chicago, big Cubs fans. So go Cubs. um, the Cubs were playing to get into the playoffs, and we came out of the football game because I went to IU, so Indiana University, and IU was playing Northwestern, so I came home for that game, and we were coming out of that game, and my mom asked the vendor, you know, what was the score of the game, and she had asked 3 times, and I heard she didn't hear. I heard him say something about her intelligence. Um, and that at that time I was too busy trying to make sure she understood to get in touch with my feelings at that time. But while writing the book, I realized that it made me sad because my mother was a very very smart person, very intuitive person, and to have her intelligence questioned because she couldn't hear, um, was sad. I mean, because he didn't know her. Um, so being able to write about that story again, and feeling those feelings really for the first time, um, was very helpful in my journey as well.
Very helpful indeed. And Miss Maureen, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season too, comedy 101 in second season, and my food 101 in fifth season as well, geography 101 in fourth season, and my baby podcast, law 101 and mental health 101 Love Letters in third season, and Movie 101 Review and Music 101 in fourth season, and Science 101 and Sex 101 in each first season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Miss Maureen, what advice would you give to others who want to write a book about their personal challenges and triumph?
Just keep it's a way to, just keep at it, writing it. Being able to write your personal story is all about reclaiming your voice, right? um, and the best way to reclaim your voice is being able to write that story and feel those feelings, maybe feeling them as I did the first time. So I think it's just important to persevere through that. If it becomes difficult, take some time off. Take a little time to think and journal, not journal, but well, you can journal, meditate on it if need be. Do make sure you don't forget about your self-care as you're writing such a personal story. So I think that's really important.
Truly, truly important. And Miss Maureen, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your book itself?
Well, thank you so much for having me again. I appreciate it. If anybody has any questions, they can certainly get in touch with me, Maureen at heretohearyou.com. If they buy my book and look under Amazon.com, or my landing page is heretohearyou.com, where there'll be a link also to my book.
Yes, people, let's support Miss Maureen. And well, for sure, if you support her, more and more empowering books like this to come. So, Miss Maureen, thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you so much for having me again. I appreciate it.
More to come, people. See you soon.